Welcome to Numbers Simplified. In this channel, we simplify and solve numerical problems. Today, we'll be looking at factors, especially product of prime factors. Just to start with it, the terminology. A factor is a divisor that divides a dividend without leaving a remainder. For example, we have 27 divided by 3. The answer is 9. So in this case, 27 is the dividend, 3 is the divisor, and this divisor is a factor. Why? Because it divides into 27 without leaving a remainder. Then 9, which was the answer, is referred to as the quotient. Now, when we talk about the product of prime factors, we are saying we are expressing a number as product of its prime factors. We use the following steps. Step 1. Start by dividing the number by its smallest prime factor until it's no longer a prime factor. Step 2. Move to the next smallest prime factor or factors. And step 3. Repeat the process until the final answer or quotient is 1. Then multiply all the factors used. Now, let's look into example 3. Express 12 as a product of prime factors. The solution. So we start by placing the 12 and look for the smallest prime factor. In this case, 2 is the smallest prime factor. So we divide 12 by 2. So 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. The next small prime factor is still 2. So we divide 6 by 2. We get 3. This time around, 2 is no longer the smallest prime factor. The prime factor that is available is only 3. So we divide 3 by that 3. Then we get our final answer as 1, meaning that 12 as a product of its prime factors is 12 times 2. It's 2 times 2 times 3, which is the same as 2 to the power 2 times 3. We're done with that one. Right. Moving on. We have example 4. With example 4, we have the question, express 64 as a product of prime factors. So we start by dividing that 64. The smallest prime factor that we get here is a 2. So dividing that by 2, we get 32. The smallest prime factor we still have is the 2. So we divide 32 by 2, we get 16. 16 divided by the smallest prime factor, which is 2 again, we get 8. 8 divided by the smallest prime factor, 2, we get 4. 2 is still the prime factor, so we divide 4 by 2, we get 2. 2 divided by 2 once again, we get 1. So if we are going to express 64 as a product of its prime factors, we are going to have 2 to the power 6. As easy as that. Now, jumping into example 5. We have this huge number, 63,000. Yes, you heard me right, and you see the digit right. This is 63,000, and we want to express it as a product of prime factors. So the smallest prime factor we have here is still a 2. We divide that one by 2, we get 31,500. The smallest prime factor, still a 2. We get 15,750. 2 is still the smallest prime factor. We get 7,875. Now this time around, 2 is no longer the smallest prime factor, but 3 is. So that we get 2,625. Now 3 is still the smallest prime factor here. We divide, we get 875. Now we divide this one this time around by 5. So dividing by 5, we get 175. We divide by 5 again, we get 35. Divide by 5 again, we get 7. Now, 5 is no longer the smallest prime factor here. We get the next one, which is a 7, up until we get 1. So expressing 63,000 as a product of its prime factors, we are going to get 2 to the power 3 times 3 to the power 2 times 5 to the power 3 times 7. Now, if you've made it this far, congratulations. Now I'll leave you with the task. Express 217 as a product of its prime factors. Remember, your feedback is always welcome here. Share your experience in our sessions, your preferred numerical future topics, your questions, concerns, and suggestions. And remember once again to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching Numbers Simplified. God loves you.